Okay, everybody, this is Hiro saying, okay, you guys like to see me work. Well, there's a whole section of, let's see, these are elms, different kinds of elms, and Chinese hackberry, and who knows what else. Anyway, I'll grab a handful and I'll go ahead and start trimming, because that's what you guys like to see is. Well, good morning. This is Hiro again. You could tell that it's early morning. Here's our morning sunlight coming through the window. Well, anyway, today is the first day of September. And I was going to do this earlier, but we've had this tremendous heat and bad weather. Not weather so much as the smoke. We've had all this fire in California. And when the wind blows this way, it's from one fire. When it blows this way, it's from another. So we've been in a very bad air situation for a long time. Today is not great, but sort of tolerable. Like I said, we're in September, but this coming weekend, it's going to get past 100. One prediction is 107 on Monday or so. Anyway, so back to pruning. These are a little bit more advanced material. And what I'm going to do is do what I did before, take individually. You know, I've been getting all these nice comments. And one of the things I realized is some of the easiest thing I could do, you like it. So anyway, these are 5 examples from that table, and I'm going to show you how I prune these one at a time. This one is called the winged elm, and it's just a variation of Chinese elm. And this one is in pretty good shape, so not much needs to happen. Now, if I could stay on top of it like this, where it doesn't get really wild, I'll have much better looking material all the time. But, you know, that's just not possible here. Look how cool this is. I think you have the front. It's been around for a while. That's why when you get into this category, these are all ready to go into a nice bonsai pot. This one is Seiju and elm. So it's a smaller leaf. They say it was a type of a Hokkaido elm that was found to be a little bit hardier. I tried the Hokkaido and it really doesn't do well here. So we need a new apex somewhere here. So here we go. Then we trim, right? Oh, this one too. You notice what I'm doing as these come up, there's also one that's going horizontal, right? So if you take off the one going up, then you're left with things that are going more horizontal. Well, that sure beats having to wire it going horizontal. So that's typically what I do. I just take these that's going more upright and save the one going horizontal. Now, see down here, you can see this. We could save it as a sacrifice branch, but if I kept it like this, see how it's jammed against here? It will interfere with the development of these lower branches. So it has to be cut, and now it's starting to lean away. So whether it's a sacrifice branch and or keeper, at least it will not interfere with the development of the upper branches. So you got to keep all those in mind when you're working on these. Just do it fast. Up here on top, you notice it's kind of heavy. Well, what happens with most plants, they want to grow and fight for the sunlight. So the upper part tend to be more vigorous. And if we want to maintain our nice taper, you can't afford to let one section, especially like the top, get too heavy or you'll ruin the taper that we worked on. So, I constantly remind you, you gotta work on movement and taper. And it becomes very important in these material that you keep that in mind. So a lot of times the upper part gets pruned heavier to compensate for the natural growth habit. So I think it's about right for now. Now this, okay, what do we got? Well, this is a Chinese elm, and well, you can see this one really took off. So I'll go ahead and get rid of these very vigorous long ones, especially going up. See? So I'll get rid of those first. I read all the comments that you guys write, and most of them have been so positive that I want to keep going. There was a comment, I think to be helpful, he said that I should use more light. Well, yes and no. I have the lights. I have a closet full of gizmos that I bought, so I have the lights, but it takes so long to set up. Most of my programs are spontaneous. This one I did plan last night so that it doesn't get watered. But other than that, most of the time I just do it when I think about it. And to get that light and set it up, it's such a process. Typically, when videos are shot, there's 4 people behind the camera. The cameraman, the producer, light man, and sound man. Well, there's nobody behind the camera and just me in front of the camera. That's why a lot of what I do, I figure it's good enough. I know it could be better, but with the constraints that I have, I figure it's good enough. I have friends that will help me, but because it's so spontaneous, I can't sit around and wait. So anyway, those of you that are more professional video people, yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes, I have the equipment. I just don't get around to it. Well, it still goes with my philosophy. Look at this. I didn't realize, but this is a root over rock. There's a rock in here. See? Can you see the rock? Yeah, I do so many of these, I forget what I have, and then especially when it gets kind of wild growth like that. But because I have so many, it's like, ooh, look at that, big surprise. Well, anyway, I tightened this up, and if I could stay on top of it, this will really be a nice one here. Yeah, nice, decent root over rock. So this was the Chinese elm, more or less the standard Chinese elm. And like I said, it's a root over rock. What we have here is, actually I'm not certain, it's either a Zelkoba or European hackberry. They look almost identical. There's a slight difference, but looks very similar. I'm kind of leaning towards the European hackberry. I think The Zelkoba has a little bit more serration. This one here is the Chinese hackberry. Great subject. The only thing is, it gets whiteflies from time to time. You know, in a lot of the books they say, you know, all you need is a jet of water. Okay, it does get rid of it, but they come right back. But I guess if you keep doing it enough times, then you will get rid of most of that headache. But basically a very hardy tree, takes our weather nicely. Sometimes you miss watering it, it defoliates, and most of the time it comes right back with better looking leaves. It's not a highly recommended technique, but should you have one of these and it does defoliate because of miswatering, don't over panic. Put it in a little more protected spot than you normally would. Watch your watering, keep it moist, but you don't need to water every day now because it has no leaves. And then typically it'll come back. So a lot of these deciduous will come back. You gotta give it anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. After 6 or 8 weeks, it doesn't come back, yeah, chuck it. The one to the left is the Seiju and elm, winged elm, and European hackberry, or possibly Zelkoba. And what we have here is the root over rock elm and Chinese hackberry. And well, I'm gonna go back there and finish up the rest of it. So there's about dozens of them. And basically I'll do the same thing I did with these, and then probably one more time before these will shed leaves, and I'm done, at least for this year. So anyway, this is Hiro saying goodbye. I'll see you again real soon in another chapter. So, okay, it's back to the table, and I trimmed the rest. How long did it take? I spent about the same time on the whole table as making this video. That's why it's not as neat as it could be, but I got tons of work to do.